Julie Grayson stood on the white-petaled aisle, her satin gown shimmering like sunrise on water. When Elijah Banks took her hand, the whole hall felt warmer. "Ready to face forever?" he whispered. "With you?" "Always," Julie answered, cheeks glowing. At the front row, Alice Banks tilted her hat and smiled. A smile so perfect it felt carved in marble. Rachel Ford, Julie's best friend, leaned over. "Watch that smile," she murmured. "It hides sharp corners." Julie squeezed Rachel's fingers in thanks, then stepped forward to say her vows. For months later, Elijah kissed Julie goodbye outside their sleek Lagos mansion. "Mom just wants to help," he said. "Please be patient." "I'll try," Julie replied, though her stomach twisted. Moving in day. Uniformed staff carried Alice's trunks through the doors. Alice surveyed the foyer. The light fixtures are charming, dear, but a tad provincial." Julie forced a grin. "I chose them myself." "Well," Alice said, tapping a crystal sconce, "good practice pieces. We'll upgrade soon." That night at dinner, Alice tasted Julie's egusi soup and set her spoon down with a soft clink. "Elijah, you must miss real home cooking. I'll instruct the chef tomorrow." Elijah cleared his throat. "Mom, Julie's learning my favorite recipes." Alice patted his hand. "Of course she is. I'm only preventing you both from culinary fatigue." The quiet erosion. A week later, Julie walked into the kitchen and found the longtime housekeeper, Mama Saad, in tears. "They say I'm no longer needed, madam," the older woman whispered. "Who said that?" "Your mother-in-law." Julie stormed into the study. "Alice, why did you dismiss Mama Saad without asking me?" Alice closed her laptop slowly. "This house is Elijah's. Efficiency is my gift to him. Sentimentality is expensive." Julie's voice wavered. "She's been with Elijah since he was 12. "Then it's time he grows up," Alice replied, turning back to the screen. Seeds of doubt. That evening Elijah returned late, exhausted. Julie met him in the corridor. "Your mom fired staff again. She even audited my grocery list." Elijah rubbed his temples. "She means well. She thinks she's protecting us from waste." "Do you think I'm wasting?" Julie asked, eyes shining. Elijah hesitated too long. "I think you both see money differently." Julie's heart thudded. "I can't fight her alone." He pulled her close. "I'll talk to her." In the doorway Alice watched, silver earrings glinting like warning bells. Cracks appear. Breakfast, 2 days later. Alice slid an envelope across the marble table. "Household budget. We need your signature, Julie, simple formality." Julie opened it. A single line read, "All discretionary expenses require Mrs. Alice Banks' authorization." Julie looked up. "Why not add Elijah?" Alice's smile sharpened. "My son is busy building empires. I remove distractions." Julie's fingers trembled, but she signed, inking a small surrender. Night whispers. Rachel called that evening. "Your messages sounded tense." "Alice is everywhere," Julie whispered, sitting in the dark. "Every choice I make, she rewrites." "Remember who you are," Rachel urged. "Graceful doesn't mean silent." "Talk to Elijah again, fair but firm." Julie gazed through the window at the city lights. In their glow, she saw her own reflection. Still graceful, still strong-willed, but now bruised by invisible fingers. "I'll find my voice," she said aloud, though the mansion around her felt suddenly much bigger, and her fairy tale start far more fragile. Warm rain drummed on the skylight as Julie arranged fresh lilies in the foyer. Elijah strolled in, phone pressed to his ear. "Investors want numbers by Monday," he mouthed, kissing the air near her cheek. Julie waited until he ended the call. "Eli, can we talk? It's about your mom." He loosened his tie. "Julie, I know she's intense, but she means well. Let's not make this a thing tonight." "It's already a thing," she said softly. "She's frozen the renovation account without asking me." He laughed, gentle but dismissive. "She's just watching our spending. You know how startups burn cash." Julie's smile faltered. "We're not your startup." Rumors and revolt. The next morning, Julie overheard 2 gardeners whispering. "Madam No Day pay salaries again?" one asked in pidgin. "Na the young madam. Dem say she day tighten purse," the other replied. Julie stepped out. "Gentlemen, your pay is secure. If there's a delay, come to me. Later, she confronted the accountant. My salary used to come straight from Elijah's office, the man said, eyes nervous. Mrs. Banks Sr. moved payroll in-house yesterday. That night, Julie found Elijah reading contracts in bed. She's turning the staff against me, Julie said. They think I'm starving them of wages. Elijah rubbed his eyes. I'll straighten it out tomorrow. When? Soon, Jules. Mom's stressed, I'm slammed. Please, help me keep the peace. Julie lay back, feeling the gulf between them widen like cracked earth after a drought. Seeds of suspicion. Alice struck next at a charity gala. Reporters circled. Cameras flashed. Elijah's wife is a treasure. Alice purred into one microphone. She squeezed Julie's shoulder, nails biting through silk. Came from nothing, yet she spends like royalty. My son is generous. Julie's breath caught. A reporter turned. Mrs. Banks, any comment? Julie kept her voice calm. Every naira I spend is with Elijah's consent. We both support local artisans. Alice laughed lightly. Of course, dear. She's still learning the value of big numbers. In a limousine home, Julie faced Elijah. She just humiliated me on live TV. He sighed. She was joking. She was undermining. You're overreacting. Julie stared out at the passing streetlights, their glow smearing like tears on glass. Tiny heartbeat, new hope. 2 weeks later, Julie stared at the pregnancy test in their marble bathroom, 2 pink lines. A tiny gasp escaped her lips. When Elijah returned, she met him at the door. We're having a baby. His briefcase clattered to the floor. Are you sure? She showed him the test. He lifted her, spinning once, laughter echoing down the hall. Over dinner, Elijah finally ignored his buzzing phone. What names do you like? He asked, eyes bright. For a girl, maybe Adana. For a boy, Emeka. He kissed her forehead. My mom will be over the moon. Julie's smile tightened. Let's tell her after the first scan. The sick act. Alice got the news before they could share it. Elijah burst into the sitting room, waving the ultrasound photo. Mom, you're going to be a grandmother. Alice clutched her chest. Oh my. She sank onto the sofa. My heart, it's fluttering. Within an hour, family doctor, private nurse, and portable ECG machine arrived. Minor arrhythmia, the doctor said. But at her age, caution is wise. Alice took Elijah's hand, eyes watery. If anything happens to me, at least I met my grandchild as a heartbeat. Julie stood unnoticed in the doorway, fingers tracing the cool wall. Hospitals in handcuffs. Days blurred into medical appointments. Alice insisted on a private ward at Lagoon View Hospital, complete with sea-facing balcony and imported pillows. Elijah canceled meetings to sit by her bed. One afternoon, Julie arrived with homemade soup. She found Elijah flipping through invoices. 6 million naira for experimental supplements, he muttered. Alice coughed weakly. Don't worry about cost, my son. I'd rather spend than leave you motherless. Elijah's shoulders sagged. We'll pay whatever it takes. Julie touched his arm. Let's get a second opinion. Alice's eyes flashed. Oh, afraid the baby's inheritance will shrink. Elijah stiffened. Julie, that's uncalled for. Julie swallowed. I'm looking out for everyone. Alice dabbed fake tears. You think I faked this pain? Elijah glared at Julie. Enough. Apologize to my mother. Julie felt her pulse pounding in her ears. I will not apologize for caring. She left without another word. Isolation. Back at the mansion, Julie wandered the nursery she'd begun sketching. The walls were still blank. She phoned Rachel. Are you okay? Rachel asked. Alice is sick. Maybe. Elijah is drowning in guilt. I feel invisible. She's shifting his loyalty by playing victim, Rachel said. Classic. What do I do? Document everything. Keep receipts, emails, proof of her manipulation. And protect your peace. Stress is poison to a pregnancy. Julie pressed a hand over her small bump. I'll fight, but softly. For the baby. The ledger trap. The next week, a bank alert pinged Julie's phone. Joint investment account. Withdrawal 50 million NGN. She raced to Elijah's study. The trust fund for our child is empty, she said. Why? Elijah closed his laptop. I moved it into a short-term bond. Higher yield, quick liquidity. We need cash flow for Mom's treatment. You didn't ask me. It's still for our family. It's for your mother, Julie whispered. And she's not dying, Elijah. He slammed the desk. How dare you? She gave me everything. Julie stepped back, tears filling her eyes. And I gave you love you never had to buy. Silence crackled between them like static. Elijah sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. I'm sorry. I'm just pulled apart. Julie's voice shook. Choose balance before there's nothing left to balance. A crack of light. Later that night, Elijah slipped into the bedroom, finding Julie perched on the balcony rail, Lagos lights sparkling below. I heard the baby's heartbeat today, while you were at the hospital, she said. Fast and strong. He knelt beside her. I should have been there. You still can be, but you need to see what your mother is doing. He took her hands. I don't know how to confront her. Start small, set a boundary. Come to the next prenatal visit, just you and me. He nodded slowly. I'll try. Behind them, the bedroom door creaked. Alice stood framed in shadow, a hand on her chest. Sorry, she whispered. Heart flutter. Needed water. Elijah rushed to her side. Let me help. As he guided his mother back down the hall, he looked over his shoulder at Julie, caught between duty and doubt. Julie exhaled, placing a steady palm over her belly. Little one, she murmured, we will find our way through this maze. Poison now coursed quietly through paradise, whispered lies, forged accounts, borrowed loyalties. Yet beneath it all beat two new hearts, one tiny, one bruised, searching for a rhythm they could finally call safe. Morning light spilled across the kitchen tiles where Julie sat alone, sipping lukewarm tea. Elijah's empty chair stared back at her. He had left at dawn for a product launch meeting in Johannesburg. Before boarding, he sent a voice note. Flight's called. Love you, Jules. Mom will keep you company. The sentence sounded caring, but it landed like a lock clicking shut, unseen and unheard. 2 hours later, Julie sat in Dr. Ocon's office, hands folded over her 8-month belly. Blood pressure's a little high, the doctor said, writing quickly. Stress. Julie gave a thin smile. Household renovations. Rest, water, someone to lean on, he advised. She rode back in a hired taxi, scrolling through photos on her phone. Wedding smiles, the first ultrasound. Each image felt like a chapter torn from a book she no longer owned. When she texted Elijah the medical update, 2 blue ticks appeared. No reply followed. Gaslight in the drawing room. That night Alice found Julie in the library rearranging baby books. Alice's voice dripped concern. You look pale, dear. Sure the doctor isn't exaggerating. He said I need calm, Julie replied. Alice chuckled. Your generation loves diagnoses. In my day, a woman kept composure and dealt with it. Julie inhaled. Composure doesn't cure hypertension. Alice stepped closer, perfume thick as night jasmine. Sweet girl, everything about you has been inflated. Your talents, your influence over Elijah, even his pregnancy. Julie's fingers tightened on a book spine. What are you implying? That you married up and still live in fear of being found out. Alice's smile was polished ice. Why else would you dramatize every discomfort? Julie felt the room tilt. I'm carrying your grandchild, and I'm carrying this family's reputation, Alice snapped. Try harder not to drop either. The final spark. 3 days later, Elijah prepared to leave for a 3-day board retreat. Julie met him at the door, her words rehearsed. I need you home after this trip, she said. Your mother and I are at breaking point. He kissed her forehead. I'll fix it when I'm back. Just keep calm for Liam. You named him. Julie's eyes widened. Liam, he said, already reaching for his suitcase. Short, strong, global. Alice appeared behind them with a tray of travel vitamins. Flight vitamins, darling. She slipped an arm through Elijah's. Let's not keep the driver. Julie watched their car disappear beyond the gate, exhaust curling like a question mark. Collision. Hours later, thunderclouds gathered. Julie folded baby linen in the nursery when Alice swept in. I've scheduled painters. This blue is too cheap, Alice announced. Julie blinked. I chose it. Yes, well, Elijah prefers navy, not aqua. We'll redo it. No, Julie said quietly. Nothing changes until he returns. Alice folded her arms. Still thinking your opinion carries weight? It's our child's room. I carried him, not you. Careful, Alice hissed. Arrogance from humble stock looks ugly. Julie felt heat rush to her face. I have never claimed to be more than I am. But you have oxygen you never earned, Alice retorted. My son's oxygen. You were a seasonal infatuation, now permanent baggage. Julie's vision blurred. Stop. Truth hurts. Elijah deserves a partner with pedigree, not charity. Something inside Julie snapped. Enough. I have begged for respect. I have swallowed every insult. I will not anymore. Alice's eyes glittered. Walk away then. Let's see how far you get without the bank's name. Julie straightened. Watch me. Exit in the rain. A storm broke as Julie packed. She moved methodically, prenatal records, a few dresses, the ultrasound photo. In Elijah's closet, she paused, inhaling the scent of his suits. If you loved me, you'd be here. She scribbled a note. I choose peace for our son and me. Find us when you are ready to protect, not placate. She slipped out a side door, rain soaking her hair, and called the only person she trusted, Rachel's lifeline. Rachel answered on the first ring. Ray, I need to leave Lagos tonight. Say where, and I'll drive. 2 hours later, headlights cut through pounding rain as Rachel's SUV stopped outside a small gate. Inside, Rachel hugged her longest friend. No explanations now. Safety first. They drove through the night, past Abaddon, then veered east toward Enugu. Julie dozed, waking once to Rachel's steady singing. Old school hymns their choir used to practice. At dawn, they reached a modest bungalow on the outskirts of Enugu City. My cousin's spare house, Rachel said, unlocking the door. No one links it to me. Inside, Julie sank onto a plain sofa. Silence wrapped them until Julie whispered, I thought money would build walls no one could break. Rachel squeezed her hand. Money builds tall walls. Love builds strong ones. Yours were tall, thin. A new name. Over the next weeks, Rachel filed paperwork, leveraging her legal network. Julie Grayson became Ada Ikena, freelance graphic artist. She swapped designer gowns for simple Ankara dresses and wore a crocheted beanie to cover her recognizable braids. One afternoon, while practicing her new signature, Julie felt a sharp cramp. She pressed Rachel's speed dial. 30 minutes later, they were at Holy Family Maternity Center. Birth of Liam. Labor lasted 19 hours. Julie clenched Rachel's arm through every contraction. I can't. You already are, Rachel said. Breathe, Ada. One more push. A tiny cry filled the room. The midwife lifted a damp, wiggling boy. It's a strong son, she announced. Tears blurred Julie's sight as the baby was placed on her chest. She brushed a thumb over his cheek. Hello, Liam, she whispered. Liam Grayson. Rachel arched a brow. Keeping his father's name? Grayson is mine, Julie said. Someday, Elijah may earn a place beside it. But my son carries truth first. First night, back at the bungalow, Rachel rocked Liam while Julie drank pap by the window. Street vendors called distant prices. A radio played high-life music. Rachel handed the baby over. How's Mama? Bruised but brave, Julie said, kissing Liam's forehead. I thought leaving would shatter me, but the break set me free. Rachel pulled out a manila folder. I've drafted custody safeguards and financial tracing. Alice shifted assets to hide the trust fund withdrawal. We'll expose it when you're ready. Julie nodded slowly. For now, I just want sunsets without shadows. She looked at her sleeping son. In a life where he learns love is not a ledger. Elijah's jet touched down at Murtala Muhammad Airport just after midnight. He hurried through the mansion's doors, suitcase still in hand, eager to show Julie the carved wooden toy giraffe he'd bought for the baby. Jules? He called, voice echoing through dark hallways. No answer. Upstairs, the nursery lights were off. The aqua paint, still unchanged, looked dull in the moonlight. On their bed lay a single satin hanger and her wedding band, threaded onto a ribbon. His pulse spiked. In the kitchen, Alice sipped chamomile tea, face glowing in the refrigerator's light. "Where's Julie?" Elijah asked. Alice shrugged. "Probably sulking at Rachel's. She'll crawl back when she cools off. She left a ring, Mum." "This isn't sulking." Alice traced the teacup rim. "Then good riddance. You'll thank me later." Days into weeks. Elijah sent message after message. "Call me. Let me explain. I love you." Each remained undelivered. He drove to Rachel's law firm. The receptionist claimed Rachel was out of town indefinitely. He phoned every private clinic in Lagos. No Adora, no Julie, no Grayson. At breakfast, Alice served papaya slices. "Eat, darling. You look thin." He pushed the plate away. "I've called hospitals, airlines, even the embassy, Mum. Nothing." "She's playing a game," Alice said lightly. "Focus on your IPO." But the IPO faltered. Elijah missed rehearsal calls, slept through board briefings. Investors frowned at empty seats and shaky projections. Karma's knock. 3 weeks later, Alice felt smug enough to host brunch. She wore pearls and spoke loudly about redecorating. Mid-sentence, she winced. A guest gasped. "Mrs. Banks, are you all right?" "Oh, just the heart," Alice said, pressing a manicured hand to her chest. Dr. Kalu, a cardiologist friend at the table, offered to review her records. He scanned the thick folder, brow furrowing. "These ECGs are normal," he said quietly. "So are the enzyme panels." "Who diagnosed tachycardia?" Alice's smile froze. "Our family physician." Dr. Kalu shook his head. "I see no indication for half these medications, let alone a private ward." Elijah overheard from the doorway. "What are you saying, doctor?" "That your mother is, medically speaking, in excellent shape." The room fell silent except for a silver spoon clinking to the floor. Truth lay bare. Elijah confronted Alice in her sitting room. Empty pill bottles lined a glass cabinet like trophies. "Why?" he whispered, voice cracking. Alice folded her arms. "I protected you from a gold digger. She was my wife," he snapped, tears blazing. "And you made me doubt her. She would have drained you." "No, you did," he said, thrusting a stack of bogus invoices toward her. 50 million naira for vitamins? Alice's composure cracked. "I did what any mother would." "A mother nurtures," Elijah said hoarsely. "You manipulated." He walked out, shoulders slumped, carrying the weight of every dismissed plea Julie had uttered. Downfall in the headlines. In the weeks that followed, Elijah's focus shattered. A leaked memo revealed missed delivery targets. TechVantage's share price slid 18%. Tabloids feasted. Billionaire bride vanishes. Bank's empire wobbles. Photos of Elijah, unshaven and hollow-eyed, splashed across front pages. His CFO confronted him in the boardroom. Investors threatened to pull if you don't steady the ship. Elijah stared at a blank slide on the projector. "I built this company to give people answers. And I can't answer where my own family is." "Find her," the CFO said softly, "or you'll lose more than money." The search begins. Elijah hired Phoenix Investigations, the most discreet firm in West Africa. Lead Detective Amaka Ease met him in a dim office. "Last confirmed sighting?" she asked. She left the mansion on July 9th. 6 p.m. CCTV caught her entering a black SUV. License plate, obscure by rain, Elijah muttered. "I was abroad." Amaka scribbled notes. "We'll check toll gate logs, petrol station cameras." But she could have changed cars outside Lagos. Elijah slid a photo across the table. Julie laughing at the beach, hair whipping in the wind. "Find that smile." Public plea. After 2 months of dead ends, Elijah opened his phone's front camera, hands trembling. "Hello, world," he began, streaming live. His once pristine study lay cluttered behind him with baby toys still in packaging. "My wife, Julie Grayson Banks, left home July 9th. If you know anything, tell me. I don't care about pride. I just want her safe." Within an hour, hashtag Find Julie trended worldwide. Tips poured in, mostly rumors. Julie in Cape Town, Julie on a ferry to Cameroon, Julie teaching art in Port Harcourt. Amaka's team cross-checked each, coming up empty. One message stood out. Saw a woman matching photo buying baby formula in Enugu 3 weeks ago. The accompanying picture showed only a silhouette, but the height and gentle tilt of the chin stirred something in Elijah's chest. Doubts and despair. He forwarded the lead to Amaka, then collapsed onto the nursery floor, clutching the wooden toy giraffe. Alice hovered at the doorway. Son, eating won't solve everything, but you need strength. Elijah's eyes were red. Your concern arrives 10 weeks too late. She stepped inside. I made mistakes. He looked up. Mistakes fill potholes. You dug a crater. He rose, leaving her alone with pastel walls she had once tried to repaint. Alice sank onto the rocking chair, finally noticing how cold the mansion felt without Julie's timid laughter. An unfinished lullaby. That night, Elijah dreamt of gentle waves and Julie humming a lullaby he'd never heard before. He woke with a single sentence on his tongue. Find us when you are ready to protect, not placate. He stared at the ultrasound taped beside their framed vows. I'm ready now, he whispered. Please believe me. He rang Amaka at 3 a.m. Go to Enugu. I'll triple your fee. We're already on the road, she replied. And Mr. Banks, by crib. One way or another, that child will need a father. Elijah set the phone down and, for the first time in months, opened the nursery's paint catalog. He ran his finger over the original aqua swatch Julie had chosen and wept, knowing the color was the only piece of paradise left intact and praying it would one day welcome them both home. Julie's silence had become Elijah's loudest teacher. As his empire tottered and his mother's web unraveled, he finally understood the cost of passive love. Everything. Now, with regret clawing at his heels and ruin nipping at his fortune, he chased the one treasure beyond price, his family, to a city painted in hope, heartache, and the shade of aqua that once promised forever. Sunlight spilled through wide windows of bloom and roots, the eco-interior studio Julie had opened in Enugu. Fabric swatches lay in bright rows. Potted palms framed a playpen where little Liam crawled. A customer admired a woven lamp. Made from jute, Julie explained. Strong like new beginnings. Liam squealed, pounding the floor. Julie scooped him up. Yes, champ, business is good today. Rachel arrived in a crisp navy suit. The papers are ready, she whispered. Julie's smile wavered. No more hiding. No more, Rachel said. You'll file for divorce, sole custody, and damages. You deserve clean air. Serving the storm. 2 days later, a Lagos marshal strode into TechVantage boardroom. Elijah looked up from a half-finished report. Mr. Banks, you've been served. An envelope slid across polished mahogany. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Elijah's throat tightened. Julie's signature sat steady at the bottom. Julie Grayson Banks, now Grayson, Adora Ikenna, petitioner. He closed his eyes. So she's alive, he murmured, equal parts relief and dread. Courtroom showdown. 3 months later, High Court, Lagos Island. Reporters buzzed around marble pillars. Inside Courtroom 5, Judge Abiola Oladimeji adjusted her glasses. Rachel rose for opening remarks. My lord, this case concerns emotional cruelty, financial sabotage, and calculated medical fraud orchestrated by Mrs. Alice Banks, with Mr. Elijah Banks' negligent consent. We will prove that our client, Mrs. Julie Grayson, deserves safety, custody of her son, and equitable compensation. Elijah's counsel, Mr. Adet, replied, We concede Julie's well-being was compromised, but dispute the scale of damages requested. Elijah sat hunched, eyes glued to the witness stand where truth marched in one by one. Witnesses of the web. Dr. Kalu, cardiologist, testified first. Mrs. Banks showed no cardiac disease, yet demanded hospitalization. These records, he held bundles, document normal vitals. She declined independent review. Rachel asked, who authorized payments? Mr. Elijah Banks. Under false pretense? Correct. Next, Mama Saad, the former housekeeper, stepped forward in simple Iro and Buba. Madam Julie treated staff with respect, she said, voice trembling. Mrs. Alice said fire them and blamed young Madam for unpaid wages. Rachel, did Mr. Banks intervene? No, ma. Forensics expert Chioma Adeyemi displayed charts. 50 million naira moved from the unborn child's trust fund to shell accounts controlled by Mrs. Alice Banks. Mr. Banks signed, but invoices were falsified. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Julie's stand. Julie entered in a pastel dress, Liam's birthstone pendant at her neck. Rachel, tell the court why you left. Julie's voice was steady. I begged for partnership. Instead, I ate alone, saw doctors alone, labored alone until my friend cut Liam's cord. Wealth built walls. Love never came. She wiped a tear. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace for my son. Mr. Adet crossed. You abandoned marital residence without notice, yes? I escaped abuse, Julie answered, meeting his gaze. Silence is not consent. Judge Oladimeji nodded slowly. Collapse of air. Last came Elijah himself. He walked to the stand like a man dragging anchors. Rachel, explain why you ignored your wife's messages. He swallowed. I believe my mother. I thought Julie exaggerated. I was wrong. Screens behind him flashed text logs, Julie's unanswered pleas, followed by Alice's gleeful chats. Keep her busy, we'll finish the merger. Elijah's shoulders shook. Reading those now, I can't recognize the man who read them then. Rachel, do you contest her custody request? He looked at Julie, her calm, her strength, and tears spilled. No, Liam belongs with the parent who protected him. Silence filled the courtroom like prayer. Judgment. Judge Oladimeji lifted her gavel. This court finds overwhelming evidence of manipulation by Mrs. Alice Banks and tacit participation by Mr. Elijah Banks. The decree is as follows. Marriage dissolved on grounds of psychological cruelty. Full legal and physical custody of Liam Grayson awarded to Julie Grayson. Transfer of the Lekki Peninsula mansion to the petitioner effective immediately. 32% share of TechVantage vested stock granted to the petitioner as compensatory and punitive damages. Restraining order against Mrs. Alice Banks. So ordered. Gavel fell, bang, and the saga of control snapped in two. Aftermath in the hall. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted, Julie, any words? She cradled Liam, who tugged at her pendant. Tell every woman listening, Julie said, voice clear, that silence is not her destiny. Build your own table, and choose who sits beside you. A few meters away, Elijah leaned against a pillar, sobbing unseen. Julie approached, Rachel close behind. Elijah whispered, I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe not yet, Julie replied, gentle but firm. Work on yourself. Someday Liam will need to know his father tried. He nodded, tears streaking. I'll sign the transfer papers today, and therapy starts tomorrow. Julie offered a small, sincere nod. That's a start. Alice, escorted by court officers, passed them. Her eyes darted to Elijah, but he looked away. The power she once wore like silk hung now like chains. A new home, an aqua dawn. 1 month later, the Lekki mansion opened again. Furniture shifted, windows thrown wide. Julie guided painters. We keep the original aqua nursery, she told the foreman, smiling. It reminds me that storms end. Liam toddled across the marble foyer. Julie scooped him up, spinning beneath crystal chandeliers she herself would soon replace. Rachel walked in carrying boxes labeled Bloom and Roots, Island Branch. Ready to launch the Lego studio? She teased. Julie laughed. Ready to plant hope everywhere. As sunset gilded the lagoon, Julie stood on the balcony, Liam curled asleep against her shoulder. She whispered, We rose, little king. And when you ask, I'll tell you, ashes make the richest soil. Far off, city lights blinked like fresh stars. Each a lesson learned, each a promise kept. And inside those walls once ruled by control, new music played, the quiet, steady beat of a mother's freedom and a child's bright future.